Hey guys, just looking to do a little morning Jays talk this morning and touch on a rumor that I've been reading and hearing about, and that is the Bo Bichette saga. Now, we've heard that the Jays shopped Bo Bichette last offseason, and that seems to imply that they'll shop him again this offseason. Here's why I think that could be very difficult to do. I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm not saying they won't shop him. I would almost say they will for sure shop him at least. But why it could be hard to get a deal done with this particular player. If I ask 10 of you what Bo Bichette is worth as a player or who he is as a player moving into next year, I would likely get 10 different answers. And that's just because he's a very polarizing player coming off of a very strange season. Normally, when a guy puts together 5 years the way that Bo Bichette did, and doesn't have any particular wow skill, I wouldn't say, other than maybe contact. There's nothing about his game, 60 home runs, 50 home runs that seems fluky at all. Like, he's just very solid across the board and puts up, 4 to 5 win seasons. So the fact that he came into 2024, had some injuries, and even when he wasn't injured, or at least we didn't know he was injured, he still was greatly underperforming. I feel like that is putting a lot of, I guess is dampening the market for him. Like, how do you quantify that player, especially when you've only got him for one season at a high AAV? Like, he's making close to 17 million. I think it's 16.5 million. If you're a team acquiring a player, 1 year contract, 16.5 million, coming off of basically a lost year, how much do you really feel comfortable giving up for that player? That's the question. And I think if you asked all the different front offices, they'd all have a different value in mind that they're comfortable with. I'm sure there's front offices out there that absolutely love the guy. And I'm sure there's front offices out there that go, no, huge red flags, want nothing to do with them. I can almost guarantee that's the case. That's the case with a lot of players, I would say, unless, you're a Shohei Ohtani. But why that muddies things so much for the Blue Jays is it also has to do with the compensation picks that they would receive should they lose him after this season. So you've got to factor in the Jays can get 1 full year out of Bo Bichette, hope that he performs, hope they get a playoff run out of it. If everything's happy, if the team's winning, everyone's enjoying themselves, maybe he re-signs, or you give him a qualifying offer. Now, it's hard to say what that qualifying offer looks like now, because I believe it will vary depending on how much exactly they spend in 2025. But my understanding is we got under the tax limit, the tax threshold for 2024 after the trade deadline. So my understanding is we would actually end up getting a second round compensation pick, but I don't know if that's 100% true. If we go over the tax threshold, it looks like it bumps up to a 4th round pick. That's a pretty big difference, but in the MLB draft, any player up in that top, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds, you're still getting some pretty decent lottery picks. None of them are all that likely to pan out, but at least it's going to be a semi-exciting prospect. Like, you're going to get a good high school arm, or you're going to get a finished college product, or even swing and try and get a guy out of high school before he signs, before he commits to a college. Like, there's things you can do in those first 5 rounds that are exciting for the fan base and for the front office. So it's not a totally lost cause. My point with all that is, if you're trading Bo this offseason, you're now offsetting 1 full season of production out of him, the opportunity to re-sign him if everything goes well, and that either 2nd or 4th round draft pick for whatever you're receiving this winter. So right off the hop, you've got to get a prospect that you value as being better than a 2nd or 4th round draft pick. That in and of itself, how many front offices are offering that right now to pay $17 million to Bo Bichette? Okay, probably quite a few. Now, you're also losing out on a full year of Bo Bichette. How much is that worth? Is that worth a similar prospect? Another 2nd round type guy, like a top 10 to top 5 guy in a system, depending on the strength of the system. Okay, now we're looking at 2 pretty good prospects. Now the chance to re-sign him, keeping him in-house without exposing him to a different market. We all say, trade him away somewhere and then try and re-sign him as a free agent, no matter who the player is, Kikuchi, Jansen, whoever, right? But as soon as you trade them away and they get out of their comfort zone. That comfort zone is what keeps so many guys and gives you that home club advantage, right? So as soon as you trade them and show them, hey, this is what the Dodgers clubhouse is like. This is how that organization's run. Or here's how the Braves work. Do you like it there, right? Like as soon as you trade them away and expose them to something else, you no longer have that advantage of this is your comfort zone, stay home with us. So to me, the trade package would have to be pretty astronomical, like relatively speaking. Obviously not like not a Juan Soto package or anything like that, but you've got to be getting, I don't know, a really solid major league player plus a really solid prospect, or, you know, two really good prospects and a flyer. And I just don't know how many clubs or fan bases, not that the fan bases matter, but I don't know how many clubs really value Bo Bichette that highly for one season of $17 million baseball. That will be the interesting part to me. Not that he'll be shopped. He will be shopped. I'm sure most players are shopped every offseason. But the fact that finding that middle ground on value where you're willing to give him up as a J, but the other team is also willing to pony up what it costs to take a risk on an injured player off of a down year, making 17 million. And I think that really does limit your suitors. I was watching a Ball Cap Sports video about Bo Bichette, and I think he was basically pretty spot on. Like I don't remember the third team he labeled, but he said the Dodgers, the Braves, and a third team that I'm drawing a blank on. But to me, the Dodgers and Braves are the two teams where you can line up on something and they appear to be way more in on like the win now train. They're willing to swing big. They're willing to take risks. So those are probably the two squads where you can work something out. But outside of that, I don't think there's going to be a super long lineup of teams that are willing to give up multiple top 10 prospects, major league ready talent, maybe a good reliever, whatever the Jays are looking for in return, because it's going to have to be substantial. So I think that is where the holdup is with this whole saga, is finding equal value on both sides, not just the willingness to trade the guy. Anyways, that's my thought on this. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a comment below.